Welcome back, everybody. A federal judge sending a powerful message today. Cut the attacks on Bob Mueller. It came after the lawyers for a Russian company charged in the Mueller probe attacked the Mueller team in profanity-laced court documents, at one point even quoting Animal House. The judge responding today, telling the lawyers to, quote, knock it off. That is, Mueller's also getting backing from newly empowered House Democrats. Watch this.
We hope, as one of our first acts, to make the transcripts of our witnesses fully available to special counsel for any purpose, including the bringing of perjury charges, if necessary, against any of the witnesses, but also to see the evidence that they contain and help flesh out the picture for the special counsel.
If you've been following, you knew that was coming. The new House Intel Chair, Adam Schiff, would not say if he had concerns about any particular witnesses lying, but Eric Swalwell pointed the finger directly at longtime Trump associate Roger Stone.
I think Roger Stone lied to our committee, and he had to send a number of letters amending his testimony. There are others like him. We just want to get those transcripts to Bob Mueller as soon as possible.
Roger Stone, though, has maintained he told the truth to Congress, but there are signs Mueller's planning more charges, extending the grand jury for another 6 months.
Well, he's clearly not done. There's more work for the grand jury. Clearly, there are other potential charges that he must be considering. There's no purpose for a grand jury, I think, otherwise.
All right, with me, former U.S. Attorney Joyce Vance and former federal prosecutor John Flannery. Joyce, I'm going to start with you on this one. Could the House Democrats really do a lot more to help Mueller, or is this really about messaging here from them?
No, I think that there's substance behind this. We've already seen that it's possible to indict folks for lying to a committee, whether it's in the House or the Senate. And Roger Stone looks like someone Mueller has been carefully examining. There are other people who, as additional House subcommittees go through testimony that was taken in front of them, for instance, the Standing Select Committee on Intelligence, they may provide Mueller with additional people to take a hard look at for perjury charges. So
let's look at that, John. We know Michael Cohen has been charged with perjury for lying to Congress. So do we expect Mueller to go after others here?
Well, I think so. And one of the things that we learned December 7th when he was brought up on these other charges for lying to the Senate committees was that he made a public statement that was characterized as a message to everyone else to get on board with the message that he was going to give behind closed doors. So Michael Cohen's testimony will be compared in an unredacted form with the testimony of others in an unredacted form and give us a lead on the connection, if you will, just as the Roger Stone piece will, between Russia and the Trump project or the Moscow Tower project and Trump himself. And I think that that feeds into, there's like a three-part access point here, it seems to me. There is the Trump project in Moscow. There is the June 9th meeting, right, at which whether or not he had communications with Don Jr., who was also a witness. And then the third part is what Trump did to cover up that meeting and claim, despite what his son knew and had been disclosing, that it was only about adoption. So I think there's a very important and significant series of pieces there.
Joyce, I want to remind people sort of who has been interviewed by the House Intelligence Committee. Let's bring up that list, guys. Starting with Michael Cohen, Don Trump Jr., Jared Kushner, Hope Hicks. We talked about Roger Stone already. Who do you expect here to be most vulnerable with regards to what Adam Schiff is saying and bringing this testimony to the Mueller probe?
So Roger Stone and Jerome Corsi have already publicly said that they expect to be indicted. There are even documents that indicate that might be true. But beyond that, I'd add an additional Trump Tower meeting. There's this August 2016 meeting with Donald Trump Jr. and a man named George Nader, who represented some of the Middle Eastern princes, represented Saudi and UAE princes, and made an offer of assistance to the campaign based on his relationship with them in that meeting. And of course, Donald Trump Jr. and Erik Prince have both testified on the Hill in House subcommittees that there were no offers of assistance from foreign governments that they were aware of. I would look for that meeting to perhaps be targeted as well. Prosecutors in this situation, you know, perjury is not easy to prove. You need to prove that the lie is intentional and also that it's material. So in a case like this where you're directly asked about assistance from foreign countries, a material fact, and you talk about meetings that you had, but you exclude an important one, that's a situation that's ripe for a little bit of attention from Mueller's team.
So John, how does Mueller necessarily go about proving something like that this perjury was intentional, if in fact, let's say Don Jr. Testified in front of the House Intel Committee and lied about something or misled the committee about the meeting, let's say, in Trump Tower, and whether or not his father knew or did not know about the meeting with Natalia Veselnitskaya? How does Mueller prove that he intentionally lied?
Well, the best way is you get as much testimony as you can and statements of what people say, and you look at the inconsistencies, and you look at how that compares to documents, how that compares to the testimony of others. Documents are good. How it compares with tape recordings, for example. And then you judge that if a person is making a false statement you can contradict, it's evidence of consciousness of guilt. So what is their motive? What are they hiding? And perjury is a very interesting crime, because if you are testifying inconsistently under oath, that's perjury if it's material. And so, because two inconsistent statements can't both be true. And so that's one way to look at it. But what they've done with Michael Cohen, for instance, is they did everything they could to corroborate him, and they've said so with witnesses and tapes and exhibits and documents and evidence that I believe has not yet been made public that they have sitting there. So that's how he does it. That's how he's done it his whole life. He has more experience, perhaps, than very many prosecutors in America in very difficult cases. And so I think that his dream team sometime in the next several weeks may do Roger Stone. We might see Don Jr. We might see a whole series of people in the hot seat, and I think that's what we're looking for.
Joyce, just quickly, how different is it to testify in front of the House Intel Committee that was then Republican-led, now Democrat-led, versus being interviewed by the Mueller team?
I think getting a friendly fire interview as opposed to a hard press from prosecutors, it really ups the ante. The gold standard for evidence in a perjury case will be someone who was in the room when the lie was made and knows it was a lie and is now cooperating with prosecutors. Mueller has that here. George Nader is reported to be cooperating. We know that General Flynn's cooperation has been very highly accorded by the Mueller investigation. He, too, was privy to some of these conversations that took place. So I expect those interviews with the Mueller team will only be a precursor to prosecution for some of these folks.
Well, with this 6-month grand jury extension, I expect to see a lot more. John Flannery, Joyce Vance, thank you both.
Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.